Hi, I'm Debi. We've been married now coming up to 10 years. And how did we meet? So we met back in 2011, right?
2011, summer 2011.
We were both working in a school. So I was working in a school for children with special needs at the time. And my husband came in as a temp, right, for a short period of time, and he actually walked into my classroom, and I remember seeing him from across the room, and I thought, all right. But yeah, we never really said anything. It was more of just that eyeing up and just that acknowledgement of this.
There's someone in the room.
There's someone in the room. Yeah, that's a good one.
Well, yeah, I think Paul. My name is Paul, so. I think that's a memory I have about the way we met as well, and it was just there. We just met and left it there. Nothing really happened from there. But yeah, summer 2011 was the first time we met. And then took the journey from there. Yeah. I think it was towards the end of the year that we got close. Yeah. And then I asked you out.
Yeah. It was more crossing paths and talking and building up that rapport and in friendship. And then at the end of the end of that year?
Yeah, it was around November, I think, was when I asked you for a date.
Yeah.
When we went for the first date or something else.
We were breaking up for the school holidays or something, and he asked me, he said, would you like to go out for a meal or whatever? And at that time I was just like, do you know what, I'm just going to go out and I'm going to make friends, and that's why I took you up on your offer. So okay.
Yeah, so we met summer of 2011, and then obviously asked you out end of the year. I think from that point it took maybe 2 years.
Yeah.
So it was 2014 we got married, summer of 2014. Yeah, July of 2014. So from the point we met to the point we got married, it was 2 years. So it was obviously dating, formal relationship, engagement, and then marriage. So everything took 2 years. So courtship was, when you define courtship as sort of the engagement period or so it's kind of like maybe 1 year.
Do you want to go first?
Yeah, I think obviously when we look at a kind of question like this from a faith standpoint, people have various opinions, but for me I think deep down it was more, does this person really love God? That was my first question, and it can sound like a cliche, but it is just the reality. It was very important for me that was a factor there. And I think even things like just character, because again when I saw her I just saw someone different from just the physical appearance. Obviously when you open what is inside, that's something else, but that's where the character is. But I think from my personal point of view, it was more fear of God, character, beauty was one of it, because when I saw her as well I saw like, whoa, what is this? This is beautiful. So yeah, I wouldn't lie about that one. So that was quite important. Many other factors, but I think those three things are quite important, and I think really helps in a way, because I saw everything in you. But yeah, what did you see?
So
what were you looking for?
What was I looking for? So I had a list. I had a list of what I wanted in a person. Top of the list was definitely like spiritual life. I wanted somebody that was spiritually stronger than I was, because I always believe, and I still believe it, that the man is the head of the household, and I wanted somebody that could lead me not only in our day-to-day life, but lead me spiritually as well. So that was definitely number one on top of my list. And then things to do with his character, so the kind of character that I wanted. I would list down somebody that was smart, somebody that loved family, somebody that was easy to talk to. So just different things that
you have a long list, man.
Yeah, you need to know what you want. Make that list. You need to know what you want. Obviously there were some things on the list like physical attributes that I put down. So I wanted somebody that was a bit buff. I wanted somebody that was fair in colour. but God didn't give me any of that. So even in as much as I wanted a list, there were things that you cross off, like things that are not important. So yeah, I think that's.
So I think it looks like some of the things on the list were must-haves, and the other ones were nice-to-haves, if you like.
Pretty much. I didn't see it like that at the time, but now I do. Retrospectively, yeah. So be prepared to cross off some of those things.
I think it sort of flows from what we've said. Know what the non-negotiables are, because I find that sometimes when people are sort of looking for somebody, and depending on how far or how long they've been looking, they can sometimes be desperate and begin to lower the standard. But I think it's quite important for you to know what the non-negotiables are, the must-haves, as I said earlier on. For me, something like fear of the Lord should be very important to you. You don't want to pitch your tent with somebody that has a different set of values than what you have. So that's quite important. Somebody who honors God, who fears God. If they fear God, the likelihood is that they're not going to treat you wrongly. And obviously things like character, like we said, character is very important. Somebody you can trust, somebody that is consistent. You look at the patterns in their lives, not just what they are saying in the moment, but look at their track record, look at their pattern. And I think that begins to speak about the kind of person you're dealing with. And just be honest with yourself as well, because when the butterflies are flying internally, sometimes we can say that we're going to make it work. It's going to change. But you get what you get now is what you're going to get when you marry them. I think
amplified, really.
And amplified, yeah. So it's really quite important. Obviously, marry somebody you like as well. I think sometimes we can say marry somebody that fears God, but you want to marry somebody that you like, somebody that is attractive. In a way, obviously, those things speak as well. But obviously, beauty is also in the eyes of beauty is different in so many people's faces. But I think at least marry somebody that you are attracted to. That's a big factor as well.
Yeah. I mean, I think you said it. I think it is important to look out for that person's spiritual life. Like, the way that they relate to God is a clear indication as well of how they will relate to you. I think you've pretty much said it. Like, character-wise, like one of the lessons that I've been taught and will always follow me is, how does that person treat the women in their lives? So that, how do they treat their mother? How do they treat this? If they have siblings, female siblings, how do they treat people? It speaks volumes as well. So I think
those are key things. And again, just be honest with yourselves, because I think sometimes we make this list of a thing so complex, and you have like 50 things on your list, and sometimes they're not realistic. It's just good to know what the key things are on that list, and what are you willing to part away with. Otherwise you may end up just staying the same.
And I'll also just add to that, prayer. Like, we take it so much for granted, but praying about that person that you are interested in, that person that you're dating, I think it's so important. And not to miss out God's voice. I know sometimes somebody can say, oh, I didn't hear from God, and they take it as God's permission just to go. But if you don't hear anything, then just stay. Like, don't make any movement. I think it's important to pray and to make sure that you're hearing out for God's voice.
I think there are different ways God speaks to people, but also knowing how God speaks to you as well. Sometimes it's peace, sometimes it's just dreams, confirmation from people. But I think just knowing how God speaks to you as well, but also not just using one sign. So it's kind of like let there be confirmations across multiple levels as well. Biggest lesson, I think the biggest lesson for me would be that marriage is a multiplier. So it kind of multiplies what you see in the relationship, in the dating season. It just gets amplified when you marry the person. If it's good, you just get that. You get multiplication of that. If it is bad, you begin to see that also, loud and clear in the marriage. So I think for me, I think that's probably, there'll be many lessons, but that would be probably one one key one, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, in my opinion, I think marriage is a revealer. It will reveal everything. There's nothing that's hidden. It will reveal everything. It will reveal who you are inside, things that you need to change. And also, it is a sacrifice. You sacrifice to make it work. And I think those are some of the biggest lessons that I've learned in marriage.
I think there is no one single key. I would say there are keys, but if I'm to give you just one key, I would just say that in between all those keys, locked in there is the key of humility. just being able to humble yourself. You don't go into marriage wanting to win every case, every argument, every decision. It's sort of, you've got to humble yourself to be able to find a resolution of things that work for that family, for that unit. So I think humility would be one key one for me, and I think so.
That's a good key. I think communication. You need to communicate, and communication is a huge key. If you can't communicate, then what are we saying? You can't really move forward and have that understanding with one another. So and just understanding communication styles as well. There are different communication styles, and just knowing what works for that context. Being able to listen to each other. Communication is a two-way thing, speaking and listening, and just being able to navigate that, and making sure that one is not ahead of the other. So for example, if you're the type that's always speaking in the relationship and the other person is not speaking, that is one-sided, and that's not qualitative enough. You want both parties to communicate, listen and speak. In fact, slow to speak but quick to listen. That's what the Bible says. You've hit it on the nail. On the head with that, because you need to be humble. You need to have humility. You need to be able to communicate. You need to be able to have understanding of one another and know that you're not fighting against your spouse, and that you're on the same team, and you're fighting for each other. You're fighting for the marriage to work constantly. So I think those are some of the things that I would say make a good marriage.
No, basically when we fight or when we have misunderstanding, Debi comes crawling to me with her teeth and fingernails and say, "Come out and fight with me." No, we don't do that. We walk through it and talk through it, because the thing is that it is not possible to have a relationship and not have misunderstandings. Or
if you're not having disagreements, someone somewhere is hiding
something. So I think we've just learned to talk about it. We've had misunderstandings about silly things, about big things, about complex things, and I think what we found is just that we are on the same team. We don't fight to win. We fight to move forward together. We fight for resolution, and I think that's the difference between healthy conflict and unhealthy conflict. And I think what we try to do is see things from each other's point of view, express how we see the situation. And just reason together, see things from each other's point of view, and sometimes there may be times where you're not able to resolve. I find that sometimes we are not able to resolve things in the moment. I find that going for a walk might just give me a fresh perspective, and I come back and I approach it differently. I think those sort of things help. But I think the key thing for us is that we've decided that we're always going to talk through things. We're not going to let things just sit down there or just begin to have all sorts of pictures painted over your head. So talking through it, I think that's really helped us.
And it's okay to it's okay not to see it from each other's point of view, if you get what I'm saying. It's you guys have completely different ways of seeing things and of understanding, and I think it's okay not to win an argument. It's okay to just drop it. Like, if you can't bring the person round to your side and you're heavily on your side, it's okay just to leave it as it is and just accept it. I think it comes back to humility and just say, not saying I have to win this argument and you have to see
you
where
have
I'm
to
coming
see it,
from
yeah.
and you have to agree with what I'm saying.
Yeah, it doesn't end well.
It doesn't. There's no point. You'll just frustrate yourself, honestly. So just being able to let things go.
Yeah, but I think there's also something about just voicing out your perspective.
Yeah,
in situations, because what happens is that you can have in a relationship where somebody is maybe an introvert and doesn't want to talk about what the problem is, or doesn't want to confront, doesn't want to engage, and they let it bury, they let the thoughts and the feelings just stay there.
Yeah.
Over time, one day they just explode.
Yeah.
We don't want that. We want to be able to talk through things, and I find that that's something that has helped us. We may not talk about it in the moment, but we come back and agree to talk about it at some point, and maybe the resolution would be that we just leave it, but at least we are resolving that particular misunderstanding or whatever it is. But I think it's just communication, listening, speaking has really worked for us, and it's a lot.
Where do we start?
So we lead I don't know, let's start with the family. So we've got 3 beautiful kids. They're amazing, but they are young and hard. It's a lot of hard work to raise kids in this context that we live in as well. So we've got our own relationship with each other that we have to protect and nurture. We have and that's not the order of the relationship, by the way, so just putting that out there. We've got a church that we lead, young church.
Full-time jobs. We've
got full-time jobs. We've got a business. We've got families. I run a charity in Africa. Debi also does some things here and there publicly for the global church, speaking in places. And I do the same as well. So I take some invites on once in a while. I think there's so much. I guess the crux is there's so much going on in this family, and it is a lot. I think that's the number one question people ask us, I think. Really.
We get that a lot. I don't know if there's any set answer. Like, I literally feel like a Nike advert. I would just say, just do it. Just do it. But I do think a lot of it has to do with like our background. Obviously, I grew up in a household where I had a very, very strong mother, and I think that has rubbed off on me somewhat. And just kind of, I don't know, just having the strength to do it. You just have to get up and you have to do it. Nobody's going to really do it for you. And apart from that, I would say it's the grace of God as well. Like, He just gives us the grace to be able to do all of these things. And sometimes you don't know where the strength comes from, because at the end of the day, you do feel wiped out. But I feel like there's just this continuous grace.
I think God does His part. So God has called you to do something, and that's why it's very important to know that you're doing what God has called you to do. So that's very key. So there is a grace of God, like Debbie said, but there are other practical things that we just have to do. So time management is critical, energy management is critical, delegation is critical. And just stewarding your soul, just in the middle of all this busyness, just making sure that we still look internally, we still make time for each other, we still, it's all about structure for me, and just knowing what you should be doing, when you should be doing, and just minding your business when you shouldn't be minding somebody else. You just say sleeping on time. I love my sleep. I sleep on time, and that's a good medicine, by the way. Just making sure you're able to structure your life and have margins as well, because things happen that we don't expect.
So we always make sure that we try to take time for ourselves. We are blessed in that we do have family that are around us and willing to help us. So it's very important to know your tribe and to keep your tribe close, and to make use of that support that you have. It won't always be there.
To leverage on it.
Leverage on it as much as you can. So we do try to do that, whether it's grabbing breakfast in the morning or during the lunchtime break that we have. We would try and step
sometimes
out.
we work from home, and we are able to do that sometimes.
or going out in the evening, taking a night out in a hotel, or whatever it is, just things that will keep you coming back to the main reason and the main person for you.
Because what I find is that most times in the early part of a marriage, people are so into each other, they are all over the place, lovey-dovey, they're intentional about dating, going out, spending time together. Then you slide a child or two kids into the mix, it messes up the equation, and they're not intentional about still connecting with each other, and they begin to drift gradually over time. And one day you see a paper saying, "I want a divorce." So I think it's all about that intentionality, even whilst the kids are there. Absolutely. And just knowing that your kids need a healthy marriage. They need a healthy relationship between the husband and the wife, and they thrive on that. So I think that's the understanding that we've sort of tried to use to keep that connection going. Whether it's traveling together, we do everything together. Like people say that they look at us and when we do everything together, it's amazing. And I think that's very critical, to just keep doing things together, keep having fun together, not taking life too seriously, and raising the kids together, doing everything together. I think that's a critical thing that has worked for us. Which one do you want to discuss? I think just to put it out there, there's been so many challenges. The financial challenges. There was a time I didn't have a job during the pandemic. Debi had a job, and sort of just navigating finances in that time. There's been challenges around losing money in business. There have been challenges around trying to conceive. There have been all sort of challenges. Which one do you want to pick? But I think there's a uniformity in the way we approach these sort of challenges. And I think I'm a person of faith. Just hearing God over the challenge, because I think sometimes things happen to us and we ask, why me? But sometimes God may be trying to teach us something through that challenge, and just trying to hear God, praying over it. That's usually my first response. That's usually our first response, holding hands together to pray over whatever difficulty is in front of us. And also just thinking of practical ways. I mean, this woman has saved me a lot of money. We've lost some money, but it's been so interesting to see the way Debi just goes. Well, these two occasions where we've lost some money. I think there was a time we lost 11k to a fraudulent
builders,
a cowboy. But it was so interesting to see the way Debi did some research and just went after this. Went through the financial ombudsman and the like, and we were able to get the money back. So I think there is a spiritual response to every challenge. And there are practical response to every challenge. It is foolishness just to go through one side and just ignore the other side. And I think what we try to do is hear God and sort of think about what practical solutions or steps can we take to partner with God to help us overcome that challenge. And I think that has really helped us. So we're also listening to advice. So we have people in our network who are sort of mentors, role models that we look up to.
I just wanted to say as well, not blaming each other for the things that have gone wrong or for the challenges that we've faced. I think sometimes it can be easy, especially when it comes to like things like finances. It can be very easy to say, "Oh, it was your fault. You didn't do this or you didn't do that,"
or even not say it out and be thinking it internally.
Thinking it like,
Look at that girl. Look at what she did.
But talk it through and see what you can come up with together. Again, you're on the same team. You're not fighting against each other. You're fighting with each other in order for things to hopefully turn out successfully. So, I think that's very important.
I think I had this as well, because you see, sometimes we just go about our different businesses, our lives. We don't invite challenges into our lives. Challenges just happen. You may do everything right, and challenges still happen. And that is why it's very important that you build an emotional bank. You build sort of that connection with each other, so that whatever comes, you are able to attack it together. Because what happens sometimes is that people are attacking their challenges individually and they're not able to defeat it, but two are better than one. But when you build that connection and that is stable, whatever happens in life, you are able to fight together and fight to win indeed.
That's a good one. Yeah. So we obviously we were always at the beginning of the year, whatever it is, or during our conversations, we would sit down and we'll say, okay, this is what we want to work towards. So when we bought the house, we knew that this is what we wanted. And we would make a plan on how to do that, whether it's, okay, this month we're going to put aside X amount every month, and then we would just agree on it. So it's really about talking through what is it that we want to achieve in our careers, and we would just kind of talk about it. We'll pray about it. We'll help each other. So he's like, for me, our project management professional. So when I wanted to go for my role, I would come to him, we'll talk about it, he'll give me, help me with interview techniques and things like that. So yeah, we just talk about what it is that we want, and we create a plan on how we want to get there.
Yeah, I think we set goals across various areas of our lives. So there are spiritual goals, there are financial goals, there are goals for the kids, goals for ministry. And what we try to do, like Debbie was saying, is obviously talk about it, but be strategic enough. So we're not just looking at goals for today, we're thinking about next few years, where do we want to be next year, whatever it is, but just being strategic and then thinking back, what are the steps we need to take? Because I think sometimes most people overemphasize what they can achieve in 1 month or in a day, but then underemphasize what they can achieve with a lifetime or months of your years of planning or thinking ahead. So and yeah, just celebrating as well when we achieve goals. We do that a lot. We call it take a bite. Just relax and celebrate what has happened before you go looking for the next thing. But yeah, that's sort of how we do it. Yeah,
we travel.
We like to travel. It's quite interesting that even when the church first started, we would finish a service and just travel after the service, and then be back in time for the next service, because we couldn't travel a lot. For years we couldn't travel during the weekends. But obviously now we're still mindful of church and all. But we do travel.
Not always outside the country. But we just make sure that we try to get away as much as we can, and live it up because we deserved it. We've worked hard.
Yeah, I mean, there are other ways we celebrate, so it might be just relaxing around, maybe having friends or whatever over. Yeah, I think sometimes people are so serious, and I think people have accused me of that in previous years of my life, but just learning to enjoy the gift of God, the goodness of God, the kindness of God. Now we have a value in our family called fun for the kids to also remember that we enjoy it all, and we thank God for His goodness and faithfulness. So we try to enjoy life in the middle of all the hard work and the challenges. You want me to go first? You want to go first? What do I admire most? I think there's a lot. There's a lot in this beautiful woman. But I think I would say consistency. So Debbie has not changed in any way since I married her. So what I mean is that she's the same person outside as she is inside. She's the same person when I was dating her as she is now. Obviously, I think you're getting more beautiful day by day. But I'm talking about character, and I'm talking about consistency, humility, purity, just intentionality in the way she does things. And that consistency is amazing to see that she is the same person, and I think that's really beautiful.
Thank you.
I want to hear mine now.
Yeah, there's a lot that I can say, really. I wouldn't say there's one thing that I admire. I think there's many things, but one of the most, I would say, let me start this way. When we first had our very first date in Burger King. Burger King. I remember him speaking and just telling me, all of the dreams that he had and his passion for God and the work of God and stuff like that. And I had grown up with Christians like my whole life. But up until the moment that he started speaking, there was such a difference, and and it made everything that I had known feel like it had been false, if that makes sense. Like, he was just so genuine, and his love for God, his love for people is so genuine, and you can see it every time he gets up on the altar to speak. I'm just like, correct. Correct choice. But yeah, your consistency as well. He's such a humble person. He has such a big heart, very loving, very caring. Yeah, there's just so much that I can say, but yeah.
Thank you.
It's a good one.
Yeah, I think, the single stage is a stage where you want to discover who you are. You want to be secure in your identity in Christ, as we say. But I think that realization is very key for you to then be able to glue yourself to somebody else, who obviously by God's grace has also discovered their identity, and you can think of how you can work together. Debi is a pastor's wife, so to speak, and obviously as a pastor sometimes you are sort of at the front, and invariably people can think that you are just a shadow of the lead pastor, if you like. But if you have someone who is not secure in their identity in Christ, they would see themselves as a subordinate when they should be seeing themselves as a partner. And I think that's sort of an example from the local church ministry, but I think it applies to every state of life as well. If you're not secure in yourself or in your identity in Christ, you cannot be secure with somebody else. So I think that journey of discovering who you are, the gifts that you have, what you like to do, your passion, your calling, your likes and dislikes, all those things are critical. Having fun, discovering yourself, enjoying yourself as a single person. I think it's quite critical that you do that and go through that journey before you pitch your tent with somebody else. And when you come together, it won't be the case of half and half coming together. It will be the case of 1 + 1 coming together, and you are able to maximize that force to be a blessing to your world, because marriage is not just about you, it's about the value you can add when you come together. And I think that's really critical. So I think go through that individual journey, but also be able to see how can we complement each other rather than compete with each other when we meet.
That's good. I guess for me, you've hit it with identity. It's important to know who you are as a person, but also to understand that you're getting married for purpose, and not just because so nice, I'm feeling all these feelings, because feelings fade at the end of the day. And you have to know what you are marrying for and who you are marrying. So, somebody that's in their single season, don't be in such a rush. I know that it can feel very like, oh my goodness, time's ticking, time's going, I need to find somebody, be on my clock. But I feel that's where a lot of mistakes are made, when you're trying to rush it and when you're trying to stick to social standards of of what is the social norm. But take your time, really get to know yourself, enjoy things that you may not have the opportunity to enjoy when you're married. Hang with your girlfriends, sort out your career, go for some time abroad, do the things that all of these
save
things
some money as well.
Yeah, don't YOLO.
Buy a house. Invest. That's part of the list.
It's part of the list. It's true. So yeah, I think those are all very important things. So enjoy this season as much as you can, because when another season comes, you can't look back and say, oh, if only I had done. So enjoy this season, fall in love with your creator, because he's the one that's going to lead you to that next season of your life. I think that's important.
It's quite important. And I think what you find is that when you live that way, you're building a tank that is full, and when you get into the next season, life is going to try to draw from that tank. But if you don't have anything full there, you're going to find that you're not going to be able to stand when the pressures of life come as you go. So it's that's the principle. That's how to do it.
I do the cooking, he does the
No, I think for us it's more shared responsibility. So marriage is all about sharing responsibilities, and I find that no responsibility is in competition with the other responsibility. So I think that mindset is very critical, and I think also just understanding that the strengths that we have are unique and different. So for example, I am not your DIY guy. I don't. That's not my calling.
No,
But that doesn't mean that I don't do things in the house. So I help with the kids. I do the dishes. I put the bin out. I clean. I make I do some cooking. Very small cooking. What else? I think I try to be as hands-on as possible.
Yeah, you do a good job with it.
But I think one of the areas of one of my strengths is just the administrative skills. So I would, like you said, project manage things and just make sure that things run well, the bills are paid, things are structured and the like. But Debbie has strengths as well. I mean, I cannot do what she can do. So she's a great mother. I cannot feed a baby. But seriously, I cannot do that. I cannot feed a baby. I cannot cook as she can do it. So I think it's just understanding where the strengths are and knowing where your limits are and being able to partner with the other person. But yeah, is there any other thing you do that you want to talk about?
No, I mean, you said it. We just share responsibilities and play on our strengths. I think that's the key thing. So yeah.
I mean, the Bible is quite clear. This is a very sensitive topic for many people, depending on where they are in their relationship. But the Bible says, "Husband, love your wives, and wives, submit to your husband." I find that when you use that verse, you could use it negatively or positively, depending on the context of your relationship. And I think that when marriage functions the way God intends, those two roles will never be in competition with each other. When you find that they're in competition with each other, it's because there are fundamental things wrong in that relationship.
Yeah.
When the husband loves his wife as as Jesus loves the church, you'll find that it's easier for the wife to submit and respect her husband. So I think
and vice versa as well. Like if the woman is able to submit, the man is also able to love. It's like
it's a cycle.
Yeah, it's a cycle.
Yeah, and which is why it's very important, though. I think when it goes back to this dating and choosing, the word submission is from two words, sub and mission. It's very critical that you understand the mission that you want to submit to. You have to choose that mission critically and carefully, because if you cannot submit to the person that you're dating, then you want to ask yourself, am I going to really choose this mission for the rest of my life? So I think if you find a person that loves God, they would not treat you anyhow. They will treat you well, and so you'll find it easier to submit to them in that relationship. So I think marriage is a mystery, and it's sort of designed in a way for us to see who Jesus is and the relationship that he has with the church. So if a husband loves his wife and is willing to die and sort of lay down his life for that woman, the woman will find it easy and straightforward to submit, and they can work together. So the man can lead. Obviously, it's not like it's just the man making all the decisions. You're partnering together.
But you would have confidence to follow that leading. It's just so, it goes back to being, allowing yourself to fall so deeply in love with Jesus and allowing your heart to be in the hands of God, so that whoever is the one to find your heart, he also has to get through Jesus first to find you. I think that's so it's critical.
So I mean there are all sorts of roles in the Bible for a man and woman. We've talked about some of them in this series, but sort of understanding that you're in a partnership and God has designed that relationship for a reason. You have a role to play, they have a role to play. How can we work together to build a home that honors God, that people can see and say, that is Jesus living through these people? That's what we want to see. I think the first thing I would say is that God hates divorce. He doesn't hate divorcees. But if you are in a situation or in a season where you are considering divorce, I would really encourage you to take a step back and really think about it. There are grounds for divorce in the Bible. So there is adultery, there is abuse as a ground for divorce. If I wouldn't advise anyone who's been abused to stay in a relationship like of that nature. But if the situation or the challenges you're facing are not one of those two, you want to think deeply about the decision you're about to take, especially if you have kids together. The relationship is about to go complex when you go through with this divorce. Just because you have those kids in the picture, it is very complex. It's so shocking to see what happens when people go through divorce. It is times 10 of the problems you're facing right now. It just escalates and goes through the roof. It is ridiculous and shocking to see what happens when divorce happens. It is not a good thing, and I understand fully well now why God said, I hate divorce, because I hate what it does to people, and how it sort of rips people's hearts and brings out what they do not even think is within them. So I will think deeply before you do that, and sort of separation may be one thing to try in this season before you sort of contemplate or go fully for that. So you may want to take some time apart and sort of reflect. I mean, Debi, you could describe what separation looks like in terms of what you should be doing, really, because there's a way to separate, there's a way not to separate. And I find that sometimes people will separate and just do it anyhow, and then they already made up their mind of what they want to do, but they want to take the box just to separate. What does good separation look like for someone that is contemplating divorce?
Yeah, before that though, I know in the Bible it talks about divorce staining one's garment with violence. It just shows how violent divorce can be. But anyway, in terms of separation, I think it's necessary to take that time to pray and to really think through the things that you want to do. Like have a plan. It's not just a time to kind of, I'm going to go live it up, I'm going to go do my thing, but to really see, okay, what's been happening, what are the qualities that I find in my husband or wife or whatever, what are the things that we need to work on, and see what it is that you can do. How can you fight for your marriage? Because the whole purpose of separation is to see, okay, is this something that is worth fighting for? But if you don't give that space and you're not getting yourself around the right people as well, it can lead to something that shouldn't have taken place.
I think that's it, really. There's a way to do it and there's a way not to do it. It's a season to actually even go deeper in your walk with God as well, and just spend time with God, because I find that the more you know God, the more you are able to see things from God's point of view as well. And even able to sometimes even see that what you're seeing as big may not be as big as you think it is. Yeah,
exactly. And sometimes what I've seen in some couples is that they can be so busy trying to change the other person, and they're focusing on just what that person has been doing. Whereas when you're able to take yourself out, you begin to focus on you internally and being able to ask God, okay, God, reveal the things that maybe I'm doing. Where am I going wrong? Maybe my relationship with you is really lacking. Take that time to pray and fast and speak to God about your own heart, your spiritual condition. And maybe there are things that God will reveal to you. Actually, you've done this, or you've said this, or you've acted like this, and those are things that you can now begin to fix. And so just really allowing God to shape that season of your life and lead you through it. I think that is real dependence, and that's really showing that, God, I value the institution of marriage which you have set up. And I'm going to do it your way. And I think people get into problems when they've decided they're going to do it their way. They're going to do it as the world says it is. They're going to view marriage in the world's way. And I think that's where people get into trouble.
I think there's also the other side for example, anyone who is maybe watching this and they've gone through divorce already. So they are divorced, and you may be thinking, okay, what does that look like for me? And I will just say that, again, like I said earlier on, God doesn't hate you. Absolutely. He hates divorce, but not you. So there are steps to take to find healing. You don't want to rush into another relationship, especially even now if you have kids as well. They are not going to forgive you if you rush into the next relationship without taking time to actually understand their needs as well, your needs, and sort of taking time to heal as well. So it is similar to what Debbie was saying in terms of what you're doing in a season of separation as well. Just spending time with God, rediscovering yourself, healing, taking time to heal, get counseling, be committed to God's house, and just replenish your spirit and let God lead you into what He has for you in the future without rushing at all or being desperate. Because what tends to happen is that people leave a relationship, there's an emotional deficit, and they're trying to find somebody else to meet that need, but only God can meet that need. And if you go looking for that need somewhere else, you're going to find that you're continually going to keep running and finding what you want to find in a place that can never satisfy.
I think you said it really. I just wanted to emphasize about the children. I think it's so important to make sure, if you have been divorced, or you're at that point and you said, okay, that's it, we're divorced, it's very important to speak to your children about it. Like, don't leave them in the dark. They see what's going on. They understand a lot more than you probably think they do. It's very important to have those conversations with them. It's very important to heal with them, especially if you've gone through that season of divorce. Heal together, talk about it together. Otherwise, it can cause problems in the future. So yeah.
Thank you.
And I heard this actually on that one. So I think one of the other things we find is that somebody's annoyed with a guy or whatever it is, they've divorced each other, and then they stop the kids accessing their father. What you're doing is destructive. You're actually destroying those kids, and in terms of their access to the father the way God designed it. So even if you've got your own problem with each other, that shouldn't stop that access to the parent. And it might go the same way for a guy trying to stop access to the mother as well, because they need that connection. You've got to find a way to arrange these things, and it can be complex, I know that, but that access is still very important for the child to thrive. Ooh. Well, this series is one of the things we are doing to celebrate, but on another note, I would say we are going to traveling to a few countries together to celebrate without the kids. So looking forward to that. We're also going to have a Thanksgiving service in church where we have friends of our church family celebrate with us. I used to think that I wouldn't do anything really to celebrate 10 years and just leave it and just thank God for it indoors. But I find that it takes the grace of God to be able to stay this long and not just have a good marriage, but have a great marriage. A marriage that that it's not just good on the outside, but it's good on the inside. It's not perfect, but it's just good on the inside. And I think for that, we should be thanking God and be using that as a message to the world that marriage is good and God is good all the time. Amen. Is there anything you're doing? That's it, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it.
Thank you.